Welcome to Season 5 of the Let's Talk Data podcast series, presented by SAP, where we explore game-changing technologies with leading experts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our SAP Let's Talk Data podcast, Boost Business Value with Data Sharing. My name is Corey Bragg. I'm from SAP Product and Solution Marketing, and I will be your host for today's podcast. So let me start by introducing our speakers. Kai Hüner, he's the co-founder and CTO at CDQ, and then we have Andreas Doehrn. He is the head of Master Data Management Engineering at SAP. So Kai, tell me a little bit more about CDQ and your company's mission.
Yes, thank you, Corey. So CDQ is a spin-off from a research program at the University of St. Gallen, which is focused on data management in general, data quality, data governance. And we do this already since 15 years. And our focus, so the core focus of CDQ as a company, is on collaborative management of business partner data. So we have a clear focus on the domain of business partner data, and we strive for collaborative management of data quality. Cooperation means collaboration between our customers. And what we offer to customers is we strive for 100% data quality with zero maintenance. That means we want to join the efforts of our customers to provide data quality and to share these efforts and the outcome, the data quality between these companies.
And Andreas, so SAP recently announced a partnership with CDQ. Can you describe a bit about the relationship and what you see as the synergy here?
Yeah, SAP and CDQ have a very good collaboration since many years, and it's also a fact that many MDG customers work together as under the umbrella of CDQ, basically in the context of the competence center. The customers work there together on sharing best practices, how to use MDG. And so we decided basically to strengthen this collaboration in order to leverage the CDQ services also in the context of MDG and provide integration.
So, and then when Andreas is talking about MDG, I just, for the audience, it's SAP's Master Data Governance Solution, just so if you guys are interested to learn more, you can dive in there. So our topic of focus today is data sharing. And if you search on the topic, if you Google it, it really can be defined in multiple different ways due to several different contexts. For example, that can be sharing amongst your business users. It can be data sharing amongst applications with partners or within an industry. But today we're going to focus on data sharing as a collaborative data management approach. Where organizations share their data quality rules, their data sources, and then there's peer validated records for a particular data domain to increase data quality at a lower cost with a faster time to value. And we're going to hit on each of these points: quality, cost, faster time to value. So let's start with the idea of quality as a kind of a value proposition. Andreas, how do you see data sharing contributing to higher quality data?
You see, today there are really a lot of well-proven methodologies on how you can manage your data quality in the context of your own premises within your own enterprise. There are rule-driven approaches and there are AI-driven approaches, but to a good part, master data are not really differentiating yourself, right? Look at the business partner, for example, especially when you look at corporate or organizational parties. Core data like name or address and so forth, they are rather a commodity and they are not a differentiating factor for yourself. So why should you maintain anything of this on your own? It will be much more effective if you link to some trusted sources and when you benefit from sharing these master data with others or with other sources, right? Kai, am I missing anything?
No, it's. I think it's actually exactly the point. And maybe we can step one step back and think about what data quality is about and then come back to that sharing aspect, especially in terms of proactiveness. So in my terms, data quality is something like fitness for use. You also find this in literature and people talk about this in this way since some years. And that means at the end, how well does given data fit to a business task at hand? It means you have a task to solve, and the question is the data which is available for you, Does it help you, and how well does it help you to solve the task? And in this picture, data management can be seen as something like fitness training for the data, like keeping the data in a good shape, like going to a fitness studio with your data records. And the question is, of course, if you turn it around, how well can the data that you have, the fitness of the data, prevent a business issue, right? So solve business issues or solve business problems and prevent that something happens, that risks really get in place. And for the domain of business partners, the customer and vendor data, this means, just to provide some examples, for example, that given tax numbers you have in your records are still valid, are not outdated, or even simpler, that all the records that you have for vendors, for suppliers, for example, have tax numbers in place, are complete and are valid. Or another example, that the legal addresses you have for the business partners are clearly flagged as legal addresses and are not mixed up with ship-to addresses, for example. Or that for all records that you have in place, beside given ship-to or bill-to addresses, you have effective the right legal addresses, which are again clearly flagged and identified as the legal addresses. And more in general terms, it's about the consistency of names, of addresses, and identifiers for your given customer and supplier records. And now coming to the aspect of data sharing regarding the fitness aspect. For business partner data, this fitness means that the data is up to date and complete. And if you look at the real world, where companies move location or where mergers, acquisitions happen, or companies get insolvent, it's about having the relevant information, for example, about insolvencies, about a merger and acquisition, as fast as possible. And the question is where you get these signals from. And this might be about external data sources, but of course your competitors or other companies also may provide such information if they get aware of a change, of a relocation of a supplier or an insolvency of a customer. And if you put this information, all these signals together, and this is what we mean with collaborative data management, you have the chance to proactively get information about your suppliers. That does not mean you maintain the data record, the supplier records, after you have realized a business issue, but you get the information, you can fix the data, and the issue does not occur. This is what we mean with proactive data management.
So quality, a definite value of data sharing. And I also mentioned earlier lower cost. So Andreas, can you talk about where some of the cost savings come into play?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think many customers have centralized the maintenance of their master data, and SAP is one of those organizations as well, I have to say. And centralizing this approach is good. It saves cost already, but it's still quite costly. It's better than a decentralized approach, but it's still costly because you have to have, for a large organization, you have to have hundreds of people. There are so many changes of master data. Just to cope up with all these changes, to reflect them in your data, you have to have hundreds of people. And this is still a magnificent, big cost block. And we even have to bear in mind that with digitization, the need for high quality data and the amount of change of data is even growing. So you would have to put even more people to the problem. And of course, this raises costs again, and you won't just keep up with the problem by just adding people. So you have to do something else. Okay, then you can add internal algorithms so that you can drive automation. That helps again. But I think in the end, receiving external data updates, these kind of signals that Kai mentioned, that is the way to the future. Sharing master data, sharing updates, having a knowledge that is shared amongst customers, that's the way forward, how to be more effective with maintaining master data on the long run. Kai, can you comment on this? Also maybe on the additional value, because if you have to connect to all these existing external data sources as a customer yourself, that's quite costly as well, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And I completely agree with what you said. I think open data is something like a trend in data economics and on a global scale. That means, for example, if you look at the European Union, there are laws in place pushing the countries to open their data, their trade registers, and make it available to the public. And it's the same for the US and the US administration. However, although this trend is in place, there is there's not a global registry for such trade registers or global registers of company data. So you have to research it country by country and region by region. And more important, even if you know about these data sources, these external data sources, the formats and the encodings and also the quality differs very much. That means the issue or the complexity or the effort for a particular company is about the identification of such sources and about the semantic integration between the various data models. You have to know in which fields names are provided, what the particular identifiers mean, and so on. And this causes costs, and of course could be done, let's say, in a central way, again, by joining forces and sharing the efforts. So that means in a data sharing community, how we understand this data sharing approach, also the identification and the semantic integration, so the mapping of the data models, is a joint effort and leads to a common list of such external sources and a semantic integrated service which integrates all the various data models into one data model and makes it available at one API to be used in tools like SAP.
Okay, so we've talked about data sharing in the context of higher data quality, lower cost. And to wrap up today's podcast, I'd like to focus on the last value dimension, time to value. So Kai, how does CDQ provide faster time to value with your solution?
Yes, so the business that CDQ does is about managing the community of this data sharing companies, these collaborating companies. So we organize the data sharing process. We align, as I described, the various understandings of data models between the companies, but also the external sources. And we implement services to consolidate such data, to provide updates, to integrate the external services. And we offer these services on API by API, so on a technical API level. And companies, our customers, can integrate these APIs into their tools. And of course, many of these companies are using SAP tools. So most of them are managing the master data records with SAP MDG workflows. And this is why we are very happy that SAP now aims for a standard integration of our data sharing services into the MDG tool, because this will significantly decrease the time to value for these customers, because they no longer has to run their own IT projects to integrate our APIs one by one, but they can just push a button and get the integration ready, implemented by SAP in the MDG system. So we are very looking forward to this integration.
Maybe just to add, I think there are really multiple opportunities how we can integrate the solutions. And we can think about maybe at least two categories. So one is about the synchronous use cases. Think about an online search in the registry of CDQ, or you could validate against the external registry based on the CDQ services. So whenever you have a record in SAP Master Data Governance at hand, you have this integration towards the external sources and the community of CDQ. That's one part. And the other part is, of course, about enabling the sharing and about receiving automatic updates about master data changes from CDQ. That's kind of a mass process, of course. And I think the important factor here is it has to be well defined and governed, because you want to control what's flowing back into your enterprise landscape. You would certainly not accept any kind of change for any kind of master data at any point in time. So you want to have a governance process around this. Sometimes you want to start workflows just to check something. you want to trigger additional activities maybe. There might be even exceptional cases where you don't want to accept a change that is proposed from the outside world because you might think that you even know better. So MDG in this vision becomes something like the gateway into the internal enterprise world. And that's really the vision that we share, and I think the road we are choosing here. So no concrete plans yet to be announced here, but I think there are really a lot of exciting opportunities ahead.
Very exciting. And thank you, Kai and Andreas. And thank you, everyone, for listening to our SAP Let's Talk Data podcast, discussing the concept of data sharing, what it is, why it's important, and the business value that you can achieve in terms of quality, lower cost, and faster time to value. If you'd like to learn more about CDQ, SAP Master Data Governance, and the partnership that's being formed, I encourage you to take a look at the additional resources that are available within the description of the podcast. And also, please subscribe to the series to stay tuned in for new episodes and even just get caught up on ones you may have missed. So thanks again, and be well, everyone.